Why is LBRY and its associated projects taking off, but the token really quite isn't yet? And what can other cryptocurrencies learn about the long, hard road to mass adoption through this? In case you've been living under a rock, and some of you even in the blockchain space have, LBRY is a decentralized protocol that basically allows you to publish content of any kind online where it can't really be taken down, and has a whole incentivized structure for making this whole thing work. In fact, if you're watching this video, there's a very high likelihood you're doing it on one of the LBRY-based websites like LBRY.tv or Odysee.com. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, I appreciate you watching anyway, but please try out Odysee. There's a link down below about that. So basically, LBRY has been around for about 5 years now, since sometime in 2016, and it's been building up this robust protocol that basically allows content to be published in a way that's decentralized and it can't really be censored. And nothing really came of its usage much in these years up until about the end of 2019, and of course with a huge explosion of growth through 2020. I would probably count it as one of the most successful blockchain projects out there, particularly in how useful it is in solving real-world problems and just how many regular users use a LBRY-based system on a regular basis, maybe even top 5. I've covered LBRY before on a couple of videos as an example of a forgotten project that managed to bounce back in a big way thanks to building actually usable products at a time when censorship resistance is in hot demand. The project has also received mainstream coverage from TechCrunch to the New York Times and more, with an increasing number of notable YouTube channels moving over. Now, the subject of this video is stuff that's not necessarily going ideally for LBRY, particularly the token and how much the token is being used and bought and things like that. Now, before you assume I'm a LBRY hater, I'm not. I'm obviously a very avid user and promoter of the project, and I want to point out that LBRY Inc., the company behind the protocol, actually admits this. There's a post that they made that actually details the problems facing token adoption that aren't necessarily going at the same pace as the regular usage and viewership of the actual platform. A post by the official LBRY account titled "The LBRY Economy" goes into detail on how the LBRY ecosystem is growing, but the token economy isn't, at least not at the same rate. The post also goes into some recommendations for improving the value of using the token for users. Let's talk about some of these barriers that have been keeping people from using the LBRY token as much as people would otherwise want to. Of course, in any economy, it has to be two-way, meaning that someone has to be wanting to buy or acquire, and someone must be wanting to sell or get rid of or send. And so let's start with value for creators of the token, as in people receiving it. So first, I would hazard a guess that creators currently don't get much of the token organically, as in they publish the content online, few people, as a percentage, few people end up actually giving them the token in exchange for watching their videos, either because of the paywalls or just leaving tips. Most of LBRY's creators make most of their money, I would guess, on the platform at least, from the subsidy provided by the company. The company has a certain subsidy where verified users, etc., can view creator videos, and then based on however many views they get and watch time and things like that, they get paid credits. And so you'll see as a creator this big long list of tips coming in, and they're not organic. You can see by the weirdly precise exact amounts in the tip that also repeat. They're not organic, they're provided by the company to sort of kickstart this whole thing, get an incentive for people to jump on board. So right now, content creators receive the token as a bonus, as a subsidy, temporary of course, it's not going to last forever, from the company, from LBRY Inc. Other than that, they receive very little of the token, I would guess. So without the subsidy, there would be really not a lot of utility for creators to actually have the token or want to acquire the token, or avenues to do that really. Now on the other side of the aisle, you have the user, the viewer, and they have pretty much no reason to want to get the token for the most part, because you can go to Odysee.com, LBRY.tv, wherever. You can go there and watch videos, and that's it. You don't need a token for that at all. Now there is some paywalled content here and there, but for the most part, because there's a lot of channels that just auto sync from YouTube right now, or even LBRY first creators, there's not a lot of content that people actually pay for at this point, at least not to the level where people would want to get the token. Now, of course, if they want to reward the creator, like you want to support all your favorite creators and things like that, You can, of course, tip. You can, of course, donate. The problem is you can already tip creators through a whole bunch of different ways. Many leave their cryptocurrency donation addresses down below, or a link to their Cointree page, which has all those addresses in one spot. And you can just donate that way. Or they say, hey, check out my Patreon or whatever it is. And that's how you can easily donate to creators. There's no real reason for you to get the LBRY token just to tip. If you already have it, it's a lot easier. Just hit the tip button at the amount. There you go. But if you don't have it, why would you go through a whole thing to try to get some tokens just so you can tip your creators, rather than just see where else you could give them the money for a lot less friction? So this leads, with LBRY Inc.'s subsidy program, to a one-way token flow where users get tokens for publishing content, and then those tokens promptly get sold at some point in order to, turn into real money or whatever you want to call it that people want to use. And so it's just one way that way. And there's not a lot of the other way with people buying tokens then to go use them. And of course, when the subsidy runs out, then it's going to be a no-way flow. There you go. You just kind of upload content and that's it. And probably the biggest problem right now is that there's no really easy way of acquiring tokens. I remember in the beginning, there were a few different swap services that were available that would let you swap different cryptocurrencies for LBRY credits pretty easily. Just enter the amount, hit swap, and there you go. You still have to go to an external site to do this and deal with some copy and pasting of addresses and things like that, which only crypto users would do, really. But you could actually do that. Well, not anymore. They got removed from most swap services, at least the ones that I use. If you find another one, please let me know and I'll jump on that right away because it's very useful to me. And of course, there's the credit card buying option, which is fantastic. That's right in the wallet. However, it doesn't work for the US for some reason. And that just kills a giant segment of the market where it'd be useful to actually buy some credits. Most of the ways you could actually get the tokens are on some sort of an exchange, and I've never used a centralized exchange like that because they're just too complicated to use for me, put in buy orders and sell orders and watch the little thingies, and I don't know, it's just not my thing. If you're not a cryptocurrency trader or veteran, it'll be a big pain in the ass to get LBRY credits right now. So now, as the happy music clearly indicates, unless of course you're listening to this on the podcast version, in which case I'm sorry, watch the video version, it's cool. This is where we talk about the good stuff, what we can actually do to solve this one fly in the LBRY soup, so to speak. The one thing that's kind of keeping the project back from surging, as opposed to it's already growing really great as it is. I'm not complaining. First off is to allow an easy buying and selling and conversion of credits, not just somewhere in the wallet, but at the point of when you're trying to use them. So for example, what if I'm trying to tip a video and then it says, oh, you don't have any credits, do you want to buy some? Yes, there's an option for cryptocurrencies off to the side, and you hit the little button, there's a little drop of which one you want, how much you want, you pay, boom, it buys either just enough for the tip amount that you're trying to send, which of course could be annoying with fees and transaction time and stuff, or you just top up and it completes the tip as well. Or you click your little credit card buying thing, put in a little info, buy some, and then again, you buy enough and it either tips the entire amount or you buy $10, $20 worth and it tips just that amount, and now you have more so you don't have to do this every time you tip. That is the holy grail. I would kind of settle for US card buying in the wallet as well as swap services being available in the wallet though. This is crucial because a lot of people will just say, I got a card, I got cryptocurrency, I want to buy, I don't want to go to an external site, that's just a non-starter. So in the wallet is great, but right at the point of where people want to do something, hey, you want to buy to watch a paywalled video? Oh, you don't have enough money for that. Buy it now, buy the credits now, right when you're making that decision, so you don't have to I'm going to get in and reload my wallet. What else do I have going on today? I forgot to walk the dog. It's snowing outside, I got a shovel. By that time, you've forgotten. You're just not even about that anymore. Now, another thing, of course, is to enable advertising on videos, and that will only pay out in LBC. So if you're an advertiser and you want to advertise your product somewhere, there's a little option of, hey, I want to buy this much in advertising on the platform, and when you buy it in credits, and then the credits get paid to the eventual user. So then you have this loop again, where now instead of just 0-way or 1-way, you have 2-way. You have people buying credits to advertise stuff, and then it goes to the content creators, and then it goes the other way when they want to sell it or trade it for something else. And then you have a little loop And then you got a little ecosystem going. Of course, from the user perspective, because advertisers won't be the only user, you have the option to pay to skip an ad. So let's say you got like a 30-second ad to watch before you start this video. Like, my time's worth more than that. I'm going to pay 2 to 3 cents just to skip the ad, for example, or 1 cent or whatever it costs. And you just say, pay to skip, boom, you're done. So YouTube, for example, has a little skip ad icon, but they only let you do that at a certain point. If I had a skip ad icon and anytime I hit it, it would cost me a few cents, I'd be going broke pretty soon. Not going broke, but I would be hitting that all the time, paying to skip the ad just because I want to get on with my day and it doesn't cost too much. And if people can do that, that's a big incentive for people to start getting some credits. They don't necessarily want to do the commitment of signing up to YouTube Premium or something like that and all this identifying info, and they just want to be able to hit the thing and skip whenever they want. And like maybe they just want to try this out and after a day or two or a few videos it's like or maybe they want to try it out and then they just don't have a lot of free time that month. They barely watch any videos and then they want the next month to be able to just start doing this. I think that would solve a whole lot of things. This is already on LBRY's roadmap, and I can anticipate demand for tokens to go way up once it's implemented. Another huge thing would be to enable subscriptions and super chats using the LBRY credits. Now, subscriptions, of course, LBRY has the pay-per-view kind of model where you can go hit buy and then buy it with credits. That kind of substitutes for things, but sometimes people want to support content creators and they don't watch all their content. Sometimes they watch when they can, but then they get busy, but they still like to patronize their creator. In that case, just having a regular subscription model where you can just say, I'm going to subscribe to this one for, 15 credits per month. And then there we go. It just automatically does that. That would allow a lot of creators to not have to send their viewers on a million different places, like, a treasure hunt. Like, oh, go to Patreon here for this. Oh, go to YouTube to pay for the super chats on the live thing. Oh, go to LBRY here to watch it without it being taken down and like give me some small tips or whatever. Instead of all that, if you can get it all corralled onto the one LBRY platform, all with the LBRY credit, that could really help. And as I mentioned, super chats. Super chats are a huge thing where on a live stream video, you want to leave something in the live chat that just gets put to the top so the creator actually sees it a little bit more. LBRY did recently test out a live streaming feature, which I'm super excited for. So when that does come out and is publicly deployed, then it would be awesome to be able to do a LBRY credit super chat to just sort of bump up to the top, because then you're giving the viewer something they really want that they can't get elsewhere, which is direct engagement and attention from the creator. I mean, the skipping the ads part is good, but some people might just like, I'm just going to let it play and pay attention to something else or mute it until I see it come back on. But you can't get someone's attention and get rewarded. You get a product in return for paying without this kind of a thing. I think that would really amp up a whole lot of engagement in the LBRY token. A big source of revenue for this channel is super chats, made in cryptocurrency thanks to Cointree and a special OBS plugin. So I can imagine when live streaming gets implemented in LBRY, if there are native credit paid super chats, that will be a huge use case as well. And finally, fix support. Now LBRY has this feature where you can stake an amount of credits behind a video or a channel or something to raise visibility. And I remember there was a lot of games with this on LBRY.tv before I stopped using it in favor of Odysee, the more modern portal for that. As far as I know, what staking actually does, what pledging supporting credits behind a video or whatever, what it actually practically does has not been super accurately communicated yet. So if it is accurately communicated, then you actually start getting people with an incentive to buy more credits to make their videos more visible in a real sort of a way. And of course, that's what it's for, but I think it hasn't been completely figured out yet. And let's be honest, it's a very difficult problem to figure out, because otherwise you'll have people just gaming the system. Some people will either just play the certain credit shuffle in a certain way that just makes their stuff be viewed even though users don't really want that, or someone will just be a whale, just come splashing in with a ton of credits, like a few million, and just pledge it to all their videos, and then that's all at the top of everything, and then people can't see anything other than this severely sponsored content. And especially because when you stake something, you can just move the stake and pledge it behind something else. Then it's not like you're spending a ton of money to advertise your post to the top. You might do an initial investment to become that whale, but then you can just splash around as much as you want, just putting your stuff at the top. So it's a very difficult problem to solve. I know the people at LBRY trying to fix it. Who knows how it's going to end up being solved. And finally, on our list of things to improve the usage of credits, just wide adoption of the platform. Right now, LBRY is making fantastic inroads in becoming an alternative, not just a small kind of other site with some weird stuff on it, but like, oh, you don't want YouTube, you can move here instead. You have a lot of the same great content on there, maybe even some more. Not everything, but enough to be an alternative. But right, it's more of a mirror for a lot of people's content rather than the LBRY first kind of approach that, you know, people like me use. Once it becomes a big enough platform, then you can have enough people trying to consume content on there that you can have a user actually say, no, I'm going to paywall my content here. And then they won't just say, he already puts this on a million different platforms, I'll just watch it there. Or I don't really care for this user's content, it's not that great anyway. Once it becomes big enough and you have big and sought after enough creators on the platform, they could start affording to make things paywalled and make people actually have to donate through that. And then a lot of people will just be like coming on the platform and finding a way, even though it's still difficult, to acquire credits in order to get the viewing experience they want. Right now, it still kind of isn't worth it because of all the things you can't do with it and just how relatively lopsided the size of LBRY is compared to mainstream alternatives. But once that starts to flipping, as it were, once you have a lot of eyes on the platform, once you have a lot of creators, then it's a lot easier to get traction going, doing stuff like paywalling things, or, you know, even if you just say, even if you have a popular creator that just says, I'm going to paywall most of my videos with like a fraction of a cent, and people can't view it without doing that, then all of a sudden you'll have a value of, oh, I need to buy some credits because all my favorite creators only paywall their stuff and I can't watch it for free elsewhere. So then that will kind of push along the rest. But the rest of the things in the list are important in the meantime. So remember, with mass adoption of these crypto projects, you always want to have a couple things. You always want to actually provide value, utility for people, that they actually want what you have. And you have to have scarcity, meaning what they want from you. They can't just get somewhere else. They have to go to you for it, or at least for that kind of experience. And you have to make sure that the friction of actually engaging in all this is low enough, because friction will divide the value you provide by a whole lot. So if something is twice as hard to get as the competitor, it has to be orders of magnitude more valuable for people to go out of their way to go through all that friction to get it. And so if you can address these 3 points, you can start to build something with some kind of, you know, real momentum behind it. All right, so despite talking about a lot of problems and stuff during this whole episode, I really think that LBRY is doing great so far, and I think that it is on its way to solving a whole lot of these problems, and over time they'll all get fixed. But you might be a negative Nancy or a pessimist, or, you know, a realist and just not a dummy like me, and think that it won't end up making it, that some of these problems are kind of too great to surmount. In which case, I do want to hear from you. I want to hear from your negative stuff. Of course, you can contribute positive stuff as well. But I gave a lot of potential solutions, and I gave my little hopeful perspective. So if you want to even it out a little bit, you know, comments are down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.